us. You're no stranger to going through something really difficult. Would you please summarize for us what you personally went through and what was kind of the worst of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that about your podcast. I think all of us who have been through trauma can relate to everyone's experience in one way or another, even if it was a totally different trauma that, you know, became the impetus to creating change in your life and starting a new career and all that kind of stuff that comes with making the choice to grow from it as opposed to letting it take you down.
Yes.
So I was a gymnast, an elite gymnast, when I was a young child, which meant that I spent 6 to 8 hours in the gym every day. And unfortunately, I had a very, very abusive gymnastics coach who was physically, sexually, verbally, emotionally abusive. And gymnastics, as we know, is an individual sport. So you're not really reaching out to your teammates for support because they're competitors. So we were sort of alienated from each other in a very isolated experience, very little schooling, a lot of gymnastics, one goal in mind, which was the Olympics. And you're really willing to do whatever it takes to get there because you're so young and you don't know what else is out there in life, what else is there to bring you joy. So after a decade or so of abuse, I went away to college and I was there for, not even a month before it sort of light bulb went off. This is not okay. And he's likely abusing other kids.
Yeah.
So I traveled back to Los Angeles. I didn't answer your question earlier. Now I live up in the Bay Area. I'm in Alameda with my company in Oakland. But I traveled back to Los Angeles where I grew up and marched into the police station and told my story. So from there, I was led down a path that included a lot of the legal system. I was a plaintiff in a civil lawsuit against my coach, George Rivera, and I was a witness in the criminal action against him. And while I received justice in that traditional sense of the word, he went to prison for a short period of time, but he did go. It just felt awful. I found the legal system to be really triggering, emotional, completely inefficient, confusing, scary, you name it. And so it was really that experience that led me to decide I wanted to have a career in law.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
And then it took several years after that to get my life together enough that I could actually really go back to school and, dive in.
What a story. Thank you very much for sharing that with all of us. And Erin, there's such a theme of courage here. Courage to share your story now, even though it's been years. Courage to share your story at that time when you were in college, and to look back on what had happened to you and decide to do something about it. And as you were talking, especially in the